Good afternoon. Thank you for joining our FuelCell Fireside Chat with Jason Few, the CEO and President of FuelCell Energy. Jason, thank you so much for carving out this time in your very busy afternoon.
Brian, no, really appreciate you having me on today and having an opportunity to share a little bit about our company. Thank you.
No, thank you. Maybe you could just give us a brief introduction of what brought you to the helm of FuelCell Energy. And that way, investors that are perhaps not as close to the story could, come up to speed.
Sure. Maybe I'll start. I became involved with FuelCell a little over 4 years ago when I first joined the board as an independent director. My career really spans kind of two industries, if you will, technology and energy. And as a board member on FuelCell Energy, I got really excited to join the company because I really believed that the company had great technology, that it had an opportunity to really participate in a very different way to play a role in what we were trying to accomplish globally around climate change. And I felt as though if the company could really continue to deploy its technology, it'd have an opportunity to play a major factor in that. And so after being on the board for almost a year, I then had an opportunity to join the management team and got really excited to take that opportunity because I really felt, from a career perspective, you don't get many opportunities to participate in something to where you can actually have a demonstrable effect that you can measure on really what role your company plays on changing the world. And so that's what really made me excited to be a part of FuelCell Energy.
Yeah, that's right. Those opportunities are few and far between. So do you think you could provide our audience with a broad overview of your approach to the fuel cell market and where you're focused in terms of end markets?
Sure. So as a company, FuelCell Energy, we really talk about what our purpose is, and we believe our purpose is to enable a world empowered by clean energy. And we do that effectively by doing two things. We decarbonize power and we produce hydrogen. And we have two platforms that enable us to deliver against those two things. We have our carbonate technology, which has been our core technology since our first commercial launch back in 2003, actually in Japan. And then we have our solid oxide technology. And that's really exciting for us because that's given us an opportunity to participate in what people see as a significant part of the energy transition. And that's all around hydrogen production. So our approach to the market is to really take those two platforms, carbonate and solid oxide, and then to apply that to how we address customer needs. So maybe let me just give you two quick examples. One example would be with our carbonate technology, we are often deployed in either a grid application or a microgrid application or a combined heat and power application. That technology allows us to serve all of those applications at a utility scale level. But that same platform gives us some unique capabilities to deliver hydrogen. So that's the project that we're doing at the Port of Long Beach in California, where that very same platform will deliver power, hydrogen, and water. Our solid oxide platform then gives us the ability to actually deliver a sub-megawatt scale power platform that can operate on natural gas or renewable natural gas, biofuels, or 100% hydrogen. But it also gives us the ability to do electrolysis. And as we talk about a continued penetration of renewable intermittent technologies into the grid, having a way to produce hydrogen, store that hydrogen as an energy carrier, and then use that hydrogen later for either power production or as a fuel alternative in many cases, that gives us the ability to participate in that market opportunity as well. So we approach the market by delivering solutions largely to utility customers and then commercial and industrial customers. And then we really look at what the multi-feature capabilities of our platform allow us to do to meet that customer's needs.
Yeah, very interesting. And you touch upon the multi-capable, the multiple capabilities of your products. Do you think perhaps you could just give a rundown for our audience? What exactly those products are? And
sure. Sure. Yeah. So maybe let me start with the Carbonate platform. So if you think about our Carbonate platform, we have the ability to deliver just purely grid connected power, right? We have the largest fuel cell power platform, for example, deployed in the United States today. That platform delivers power to the grid. We also have the largest technology platform deployed from a fuel cell perspective in the world at 60 megawatts. That platform also provides power to the grid. But we have an example where we're 20 megawatt platform deployed, grid connected, and we're providing steam to a district heating system. We also have applications where we're providing steam for manufacturing process versus a company having to use boilers. That same platform, right, that same Carbonate platform allows us to deploy in microgrids where we're connected to critical resources, and we go into island mode when grid power is lost and those critical resources need power. That very same platform allows us to deliver hydrogen, as I described in the Toyota case, where one platform delivers power, hydrogen, and something incredibly unique, water, which will actually be used to drive car washing at the Port of Long Beach for Toyota, avoiding, a primary need for water as a natural resource at that facility. That very same platform, we have the ability to do two things around carbon, either carbon separation, where we can capture carbon from the platform itself, or something very unique, capture carbon from an external source, let's say an industrial facility, while producing power at the same time. And that platform has unique abilities around capturing carbon, producing power. We have the ability to produce hydrogen with that same platform. And just the natural way our platform works, we destroy NOx as a part of that. So that's a really comprehensive carbon capture solution. Now, if you go to our solid oxide platform, that platform gives us the ability to not only deliver 100% hydrogen power generation, right, but also remains fuel flexible, the same way our Carbonate platform is. But then we get the ability to do electrolysis. And with electrolysis, we can integrate with renewable resources, whether it be wind, solar, or hydro. We can produce hydrogen, and we have a very high efficient solid oxide platform for electrolysis. We're about 92% efficient. And because it's high temperature, we can use waste heat if there's a source available. And we can then operate at 100% electrical efficiency on producing hydrogen. We can store that hydrogen, and the same platform that we use to produce that hydrogen, we can reverse that hydrogen and produce power using 100% hydrogen to make to generate that electricity, allowing a really integrated way to get to a synthetic, if you will, baseload power platform between renewable energy and then our solid oxide electrolysis and our solid oxide fuel cell capabilities. Those would be examples of how, single platforms provide us many ways in which we can deliver solutions to a customer.
Yeah, excellent. As you consider those various products, what do you think is the key driver of adoption or industry adoption of this technology, and how does that accelerate? Do you see it accelerating? How's that going to take shape over the next, call it, year or two?
Well, I think a key consideration for many customers that everyone is trying to address is their own emissions profile. So the fact that we can deliver a solution that helps them either reduce or eliminate scope emissions. So let me give you an example of that. If you take our Carbonate platform and you just talk about carbon separation and carbon capture, we could be deployed on site at a customer facility. We can deliver power to that facility with a lower carbon footprint than the electric grid. We can then take that customer, let's say it's a bottler as an example that maybe has a boiler. We can take the CO2 emissions from that boiler, we can capture that CO2, and let's say it happens to be a bottler that uses CO2 to make carbonated beverages. We can then upgrade that CO2 and deliver that CO2 back to the customer as a food grade CO2 product, allowing that customer to utilize that CO2, thus eliminating the need to rely on other sources of CO2 that may come from ethanol or fertilizer plants, having to transport that CO2 to on site in order to be able to use it. And with our platform, we help them eliminate or reduce scope 1 and 2 emissions. So emissions is one big driver. A second big driver is the simple fact that around the world, and certainly in markets even here in the US, grid resiliency and reliability is a real challenge. So for customers that rely very heavily on having power always available or uninterruptible services, then grid resilience and reliability is another driver of our technology. A third big driver is just the amount of resource that's being put into driving adoption of clean energy technologies. If you look at the IRA in the United States at $369 billion to help accelerate adoption, help companies like ours scale and drive down the cost of those technologies. If you look across the EU, just recently the EU has now just agreed that even member states can provide additional subsidies beyond what the EU is doing, up to 350 million euros as a way to help compete, if you will, against IRA in the United States. You have subsidies or other programs being rolled out in Canada, and then certainly in Asia, whether it be Korea, Japan, and other markets. And so you're seeing a significant drive there to move these technologies forward and drive adoption. And then finally, and perhaps the most powerful reason for adoption, is consumers are demanding it. Consumers are demanding that companies implement things in an authentic way that are really addressing climate-related issues. And consumers vote with their wallets, and that gets companies to take action.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. So, do you think you could perhaps share a little bit about your collaboration with MHP to deliver solid oxide electrolyzers for large-scale green hydrogen production?
Sure. We think as we look at this energy transition and, implementing large scale projects where you're talking about hydrogen either playing the role as a major fuel replacement. So if you think about in large scale steel production, or if you think about a fuel replacement as a way to deliver what previously might have been natural gas to a market, you need to deliver these projects in a very large scale way. You need to deliver them in a cost-effective way. And so from our view, having the right partners is a very important part of that. And when we look at MMHE, they represent a partner that has a demonstrated capability of delivering large scale projects on time, on budget, very important, and having access to the markets and relationships that are really important for us to have an opportunity to deploy our technology against those large scale opportunities. And so that partnership is all about bringing together the strengths of both companies, ours from a technology of delivering solid oxide electrolysis, theirs from the ability to build large scale projects and implement those and to have that credibility with customers that together we can deliver against those customer requirements.
And as you think of ramping the business, right, to meet those customer requirements, what are the levers that are available to you to help to scale the business quickly?
Well, as we think about scaling our business, a big part of that is all around manufacturing. And as you know, we've been a manufacturer now for, since 2003 of our carbonate technology. And we've built manufacturing in multiple locations. We have, capabilities in the United States. We have capabilities in Canada. We have capabilities in Germany. And we have capabilities that we help deploy with a former partner, even in Korea. So we understand how to build and scale manufacturing. So a big lever for us is our ability to scale manufacturing. And when you think about our solid oxide platform, what we're really excited about is just to draw an analogy, I would call it a DVD size cell, which, when you look across markets, whether, DVD production as an example, that's a market that has matured. That's a market that has built out and understands how to do automation at scale using robotics and advanced manufacturing technologies to really scale those capabilities. And so we think, given our cell architecture, we have an opportunity to rapidly scale and build out our capabilities very quickly from a manufacturing ramp standpoint. So we announced just last week in our earnings call that, we are building out 40 megawatts in Canada. We're working through deploying another 400 megawatts in the United States. And we believe that we have the opportunity to look at the market, see where the demand is, and then rapidly build out manufacturing given the architecture of our solid oxide capabilities. The other big driver, frankly, is like I talked about before, are things like IRA and the EU, green plan, are all things that are going to help really accelerate scale up of these businesses and our ability to deploy the technologies and to get cost curves down quickly. And we've seen this work, right? We've seen this happen in the wind and solar markets, right? We saw this play out where countries around the world were able to help those companies get to scale and drive down costs quickly, and then support large scale deployment of those technologies.
Yeah, so we actually earlier today held a panel with some DOE representatives, focused on how the Department of Energy was working to incubate, new technologies for this, call it, next generation of power development and infrastructure. How important do you think the IRA or federal support is to that end? And do you believe that we're competitive with Western Europe and Asia and other areas of the world following the passage of IRA?
I think it is important, and I also think if you look at IRA and if you look at the infrastructure package, you're talking approximately $479 billion that's targeted to accelerate the adoption of what I'll call energy transition technologies and help companies scale to deploy those technologies in a cost competitive way. I think that's really important. I think what's happening in Europe is really important with the EU Green Plan. I think what's happening in Korea with their plans around hydrogen. I think Japan's push around hydrogen is really important. I think all of those things serve as a very strong catalyst for really driving the energy transition. I think the work that the administration and the DOE has done really has set the tone for the world. And that's why you see the EU and member states of the EU looking to find additional ways to create subsidies or incentives that are going to bring manufacturing or keep manufacturing, that are going to keep those technologies in country or bring those technologies into those countries. And so I think you're seeing just how important that those efforts are. That being said, there are some things that need to happen to really help support the acceleration and adoption of these technologies. For example, there's a lot of work that's being done around permitting issues, as an example. Those are the next phase of things that need to happen that will help drive adoption of the technologies. But prior to that, and even after that, we continue to believe that given the distributed nature of our technology, that we have the ability to deploy technologies and deliver solutions exactly at the point of consumption. So again, I'll just use Toyota as an example. At that port of Long Beach in California, Toyota receives cars imported from Japan. Those cars will leverage the hydrogen, the Toyota Mirai, which is their fuel cell electric vehicle. They've also developed a Class 8 truck with under the Kenworth brand in partnership with PACCAR. Our platform will serve as the hydrogen for both of those vehicles, right at the point of consumption. We weren't waiting for midstream infrastructure to be put in place. We weren't waiting for a new set of rules or regulations on how hydrogen was going to be transported. We're producing it on site, we're filling it on site, and meeting a real need. And I think we have an opportunity to do that, even without all of the things that hopefully will happen around permitting.
Yeah, outstanding. So I can't believe it, but our time is already drawing to a close. It's been really really a provocative and in-depth conversation with you. Thank you so much. I guess as we're winding down, if you could leave our audience with one kind of key thought about how you're thinking about the industry, about where your company is going, what would it be?
Look, in our analyst day, a year ago, we said we thought our opportunity, given our technology, was approximately a $2 trillion total available market. We think with IRA and all these other programs, that's probably a conservative viewpoint. We believe that we have a wide portfolio to address key things that must happen if we're going to be successful in achieving our goals globally around climate. We have the ability to deliver distributed energy platforms that reduce emissions. We have the ability to deliver distributed energy platforms that capture carbon at the point of emission, which we think will always be the most efficient way to capture carbon. We have platforms to generate and deliver hydrogen. We think you have to have baseload power remains important. We think you have to have carbon capture. We think you have to have hydrogen in order to meet these goals. And our platform gives us the ability to do those things. And so we're very excited as a company about our future.
Well, Jason, thank you for your time this afternoon. We look forward to speaking with you again in the very near future.
Brian, thank you very much, and I really appreciate it. And thank you and Chardan, and thanks everyone for joining our discussion today.
Yeah, thank you very much.